the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media East of Scotland Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a pleasure to be your host, and we are back after a few weeks off. We have had some roundups. We've done obviously some takeaways as well. We are back though. We're going to talk about the action in the East of Scotland. The leagues are beginning to kind of really hotten up as the kind of season draws to a close. Thank you as always to our sponsors, App and Sports, for their support and our East of Scotland League coverage. And it is a pleasure to welcome this week's guest, the manager of Whitburn. We've had him on the show before, but it's a delight to get him back on, Darren Wilson.
Hi Scott, thanks very much for the invite to come back on the show. Always happy to come on and speak about all things football and East of Scotland.
It's a bit of an interesting kind of turn of events. We will get into potentially upheaval in the league later on, but we'll obviously start with quite a historic season for Whitburn so far. Obviously, first season going into the Premier Division. Handled it very, very well, sitting in sixth place. You must be very, very happy with how the leagues went.
Yeah, delighted. Delighted in terms of how we've made the jump. Obviously not delighted to be sitting in sixth place. It's probably the first year I've been in management where you're going into the end of the season and you're not realistically competing for a promotion or to win a league title. So it's been a bit strange. I feel like I'm going to keep my hair for another year longer, which is great. And it's a little bit less stressful. I think we're, as good as safe now in that division. We've managed to hold our own, and I think it's all about progression now. You touched on historic. I think it has been a momentous achievement for the club. And I think we'll touch on it to get into the Scottish Cup next season, and it gives us a little bit of breathing space in terms of licensing. So, yeah, it's been a good season so far.
Yeah, absolutely, and that obviously like coming up last season from the first division, and we saw how kind of tight that league was, and the way he's kind of done well in that to come up this season. He's have handled it well. Squad's pretty much kind of like handled it well. Obviously, been new additions as well. The impressive thing to me about Whitburn's season so far is 11 wins, obviously, for the 26 games. Some massive results and like goal scoring as well. Like looking at the kind of goal scoring tallies like this season, like 50 goals. I think only 3 teams ahead in that regard, and it is obviously like the top 3 in the league. So there's certainly a lot to take from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's no hidden secret that we recruited really well in the summer.
Yeah.
We recruited players from the leagues above, or we recruited captains from other sides. So I think bringing in Sammy Watson, Stephen Murray, Ethan Kerr really secures us defensively. Bringing in the likes of Cammy Graham, Callum Hambrook to add to the existing front players that we have. Talisman, if you like. We're one away from 100 with Ross Crawford. Darren Liddell breaks the 100 mark for Whitburn. So, scoring goals was never an issue. It's good to see that they've managed to step that up this year, and I think the jump between the two leagues, Scott, has been quite significant. So we had to recruit massively, whereas this season we're probably only needing a sprinkling of a little bit of additionality to hopefully go and do something again next year.
And you mentioned the Scottish Cup and clinching that the way you did. Like that's the kind of beauty of the kind of pyramid system at the moment, is like winning the cup that you won, obviously the King Cup. Winning that, you go into play St Cadoc's and Lochar Thistle, 2 decent teams, and obviously the South and West, and end up winning the round robin to get into the senior Scottish for the first time. Like that's a massive accomplishment as well, and something that obviously with the lack of license that obviously I'd imagine is something you're striving for in the future. That's something that you can look forward to next season already.
Yeah, I mean, was always in the club's plan. I think when we spoke last, we probably jumped the leagues a lot quicker than the club.
Yeah.
So on the footballing side of things, we were flying to an extent, and there was a lot of work that needed done. And I think the club, as you say, are striving towards that. But there's a lot of politics and internally that need to be ironed out, and sometimes these things take time. I think just getting into the Scottish Cup this year, I believe, is the club's biggest achievement since I've certainly been around, or I've certainly been involved in football. They talk about winning the Scottish Junior Cup, which was a big achievement for anybody. However, times have moved on. We realistically, juniors are a thing of the past, and we all want to be playing at the highest level, managing at the highest level, and competing. So yeah, for me, it was a great achievement and something that we always set out to do. It just gives us that 1 year buffer to try and get that legislation in place. And, we are in constant dialogue with the SFA. We've got good security in terms of our committee, and we are looking forward to doing that. As you know, in every other club in Scottish football, it then comes down to financing. So, yeah, we're working hard on the pitch and behind the scenes as well. So, great achievement, and delighted to be taking the team into the Scottish next year.
And something I found interesting what you said was just how tough the jump has been into the Premier Division. Now, I've spoke a lot about this over the season. Like, I think the league is extremely competitive. Now, I know it looks like we're going to have kind of runaway winners, but you look at the results every weekend, as we'll get into later on. Like, there's some excellent teams in this league, and there's no easy game at the top or bottom. Like, have you been surprised with just how kind of good the league has been?
Yeah, I think it's probably consistency more than anything else. It's consistency of teams, and there's probably, dare I say it, more structure and a little bit more professionalism in terms of how the players look after themselves. We only get them for a short period of time a
Yeah.
year. It's a cliche thing, but I genuinely believe that in this league there are a lot more athletes, and there are a lot more like team shapes, if you like. So it then comes down to the key moments and big players stepping up in those key moments, and the margins are quite small at times. You can miss an opportunity at one end and then be punished by one opportunity at the other, and that can cost you a game. I think a lot of the games this year have been settled by one goal. So that's probably been the biggest jump for us, is that professionalism, and again, probably why we've had a turnover of around 12 players. So hopefully we're now starting to get a little bit of settlement. But you're right, any team in this league could beat any team on their day, and you have to turn up and be ready every single game.
Since we were last on the show, like obviously since the Easter Scotland, the last show we've done, there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of possible transition been mentioned, and we're kind of at a weird stage of the season where we're talking about what is the league going to look like next year, because we don't know. We don't know if, like, we know obviously like the winner, the champions of the Premier Division at the current moment are likely going to get into a playoff to go into potentially getting promoted. We've seen that in the past. But there is talk of league reconstruction. Darren, I kind of done my load on this, to be honest. Like, there's been a lot happening over the past few weeks. The original plan was splitting the Lowland League into two parts, which would be an East and West, which involved 16 teams from each. It would also involve obviously a lot of the Lowland League teams in the East side being split up into, I think it's 12 East teams, with the top four able to go up to that. So that would be obviously Musselburgh, Hillabeath, Jeanfield, and Haddington. That plan seems to have been kiboshed with the vote. There's now a new proposal in the pipeline, which is a similar idea, with Brecon obviously being added to that as well, coming from the Highland League. It seems to be their idea, is what I've been told, as it seems to be all to kind of get them back into the structure, because at the moment they're obviously going into the Highland League where it's quite a fair distance to where they usually do. I mean, they're travelling up to Wack and Strathspey and things like that. So it's quite a distance. They obviously want to get back into some sort of East environment. But now the proposal is to do away with the Lowland League altogether and make the East, West, and East Premier Divisions Tier 5 with the same 16 teams. I'll be personally astonished if that goes through, because I don't see the Lowland League voting to remove itself. And I don't see the new idea of three up, three coming down from Tier 5. I don't see that happening. Okay, I do think on principle this is probably the best idea. Putting the East in Scotland, kind of changing it from the Lowland League proposal. It's only my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. I'd love to hear the thoughts of everybody in the comments as well. What do you? What is there a way to? Is there a way to sort this? Is there a way to reconstruct the league without angering people?
I mean, in my personal opinion, we need to put our own personal goals aside for a second and actually get everybody around the table, footballing people around the table, and have a discussion around what is the best plan to move forward. I think there's a lot of, oh, we've heard that someone's proposing this, or we've heard that this is being spoken about. We're now going to vote on that. That should be a collective for what's right for Scottish football. And it's obviously not up to me to decide what that is, but my opinion on it is that teams should be progressive on merit and on the work that they're doing, off the pitch and on the pitch. So, like, I'm baffled by a lot of the decisions that take place. If I'm honest, you've got a Whitburn who have, been progressive, applying for a license. However, we've then got teams below us that already have an existing license but don't cover the regulations that we need to get in for a license. So that's one element of it. There needs to be a better system, to be honest. In terms of reconstruction, I think everybody wants a progressive system where teams, if they finish at the bottom of their league, are relegated. Teams, if they win their league, are promoted. And in my opinion, it doesn't really matter how you split that. I think as long as people know at the start of the season and there's an equality in terms of the opportunity to progress, then for me, I'm all for reconstruction. But I think these things take time. We shouldn't rush things through very quickly because it suits somebody. It has to suit everybody, and I think that's probably my biggest stance on it, is that we need to take our time and get this right, because we seem to change quite a lot, but with no disrespect to the teams that have came out of the SPFL, there's not been many that have went back up. No. And it's very similar in terms of the Lowland League, the teams that are coming out of it. Edinburgh Uni, for example, they're sitting in a tough spot at the minute.
Vale leaving
are leaving exactly the same, and teams find their level if it's progressive, and also if teams coming down the way find their level coming down. So I'm all for reconstruction. I don't know what that looks like, but I think, there are people who are looking at self-preservation rather than the greater picture, and I think that's been the problem for years, Scott.
The couple of kind of issues I've got, well, there's three big issues that I think personally, again, and you're 100% right, it isn't about what we personally think, it is a lot of people coming together. I think that is the issue. I don't think there's enough people with the best interests of Scottish football at heart. I think they have what's best for our club. How do we keep our place in the level kind of thing? Which I get. I get that as the fundamental reason that these people are in the positions, is to do the best for the club, do the best for the structure. I completely understand that. The kind of big issue is, and it's something that we can't fix because of the kind of way the positions are just now, is because it's regionalised, it's very, very difficult to do automatic promotion and relegation, because the leagues just won't balance if you do that. Like, if you have the South winners, the East winners, the West winners all going up every season, you're not getting the three down for the Lowland League, and it's not going to mesh well. Do you know what I mean? So you're then going to have teams going down, and it's just going to be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I think the playoff idea is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
However, if we're not going to crack the answer in tonight, but you have to have an opportunity to go up. I mean, even when you look at going into the SPL, that team that finishes second in the championship are then playing almost 3 games, I think it is, before they can potentially even play the team they would need to.
Yeah.
So we've just done a round robin to get into the Scottish Cup. It might be that the team that wins that round robin are the ones that got automatic promotion, and then the two teams underneath that, if you had the three leagues, if you like, the two teams underneath that then play against each other. So like this team that finishes second to then play off against the team that finished second bottom. Yeah. You're never going to have an equality, but you're talking about moving Brechin from the Highland League to the Lowland League. I think you would need to work that out But again, that's going to take time. There's no.
And you've also got the Midlands League thing, which is another issue because you've got 20 teams below that who are going into who are in the Highland League structure at the moment, who I'd imagine, I don't know, I haven't actually spoke to anybody about this, I'd imagine they go into the Lowland League East situation because at the moment they're in the similar position Brecon are, where there's a lot of clubs kind of based in Dundee who would then have to travel. Now, it's not like miles away, like it's probably where I am to where you are, kind of Whitburn to like Ayrshire kind of thing. But the issue here is that because it's regional, it's you're going to have a lot of problems in terms of, oh, that's not going to work well. Like the south, like a lot of the clubs are quite distant. The west, there's a lot of clubs quite close, but then you've got like Campbelltown miles away. It's just the way it is. It's just the way the regions work. It happens in England as well. England obviously are a bit better where they've got more clubs, and that's fine. I just think the big problem is that we don't have a lot of automatic promotion and relegation. I don't think the club in 10th in the SPFL should get another chance to stay up. I think that's a massive problem. I think that's something that needs addressed. But you can't do that with the because you've got two regional leagues below. You can't put them both up, or you're going to have the same issues you would the level below. It's just, to me, the regional kind of thing is the biggest issue, but I don't see that being fixed.
You can't fix it. It's where we are. Like you say, England's bigger. You know, we played Stonyburn in the cup the other week. There, now we're averaging around 250 to 280 fans. I think the game against Stonyburn, you know, was roughly around that mark. But you know, they brought a lot more away support because it's local. You get a lot more local people coming along as well. So regionalising it is the way to go. You know, we're now going to Dunbar. We played them on a Wednesday night. So, you know, you're then not taking as big a travelling support. If that was Armadale were playing on a Wednesday night, that'd probably be packed out. So I think it's one of them that if you want to progress as a club, then you need to just do it. Like it's a case of like you need to make the travel, you need to make it work. Financially, it is difficult at times, but you know, I would suggest that I don't know this, but I'd suggest that our gate monies went down by moving to the east of Scotland. You know, Camelin and you know Newton Grange to an extent. If they do, you know, then that would benefit us. I think, especially the Camelin one. So yeah, I think if teams want to progress and they want to get better, unfortunately, it's just going to cost a little bit. And if you don't, then that's just if you find your level. But you're right. I think automatic promotion is the way that it has to be, and I think that's where England do it right. You know, the playoffs are a great thing down in England, but they've still got that automatic promotion for the team in their league. You know, I don't think that Musselburgh should have to compete with Clydebank for it to go up. You know, they should both go up, in my opinion, regardless of whether that's Broomhill and Gala and Broomhill go west and Gala. You know, I don't know who it will be, but
and the issue is as well, there's a lot of clubs in the Lowland League, and I understand this. And again, I'm not knocking them because there's some great clubs and some great people at them. But there's a lot of clubs in the Lowland League who probably aren't as good as some of the teams below them, and they won't want to be in the position where if they vote this through, they're going to be at higher risk of automatically coming down. And we've seen it with the SPFL teams like Brecon, Albion, East Stirling. It's very difficult to come back up, and they're not going to vote that through. I don't think anyway. So that's another problem.
The only other solution to it is the independent people make the decision, because you know there's project managers, business owners that must be looking at this and say that's a shambles, but it could be fixed quite quickly if people made it, you know, from the outside rather than the people within. So yeah, I think the SFA could maybe just step in and say, no, we're doing this, but we both know and everybody knows that that's probably not going to happen.
The big thing I've got with it as well is, and I don't think a lot of people are not disagreeing with this. It's way too late in the season to put this through to start next season. To me, that is really a bad idea. Yes, it maybe makes next season a bit like meaningless for a few clubs, but you can't just rush this through. You can't vote it and then go, right, it's happening at the end of this season. Because to me, it just takes away a lot of the buzz for this season. It just makes a lot, like Clydebank, Musselburgh, for an example. Like whoever wins the league, they're going to go up anyway. So is it like taking the history kind of side out of it? Clydebank, I know a lot of fans at Clydebank who are like absolutely relishing the prospect of playoff and getting that chance to go up. But then they're going to get told, oh, hey, if we do this, there's a lot of clubs you played last season going to come up with you. So does that take away for that accomplishment? It's
You're talking about a team that have not lost a game.
yes,
Potentially, coming up with teams that that just shouldn't. And I think we've always spoke about. We had that game against Locker and St Cadoc's, and effectively, if we had a licence and we were in fourth place at the end of the season or whenever that deadline was, you could go up. But you have teams that have rested players. You'll have teams that have sold players, potentially had finances before the 31st to maybe go and buy another couple of players that could actually get you into that top four.
yeah,
And in our league, that could have been from 9 up, really, because it's so tight. So, to do it next season would just be a shambles, and it would question a little bit in terms of the integrity of what we're doing. I think if we're going to make a radical decision like this, it has to be something that everybody knows at the beginning of the season and everybody can fight for it. Similar to what happened when we moved to the east of Scotland and took part in Conference X. And there was that restructure there. We knew what we were fighting for at the beginning, and then clubs have a chance to go and do that. It just wouldn't be fair, in my opinion.
It's probably something that will be revisited. I'd imagine it will bring up a lot of discussion over the next few weeks, and we'll obviously be in talk whenever we can on it. Let's move into the leagues. Obviously, we'll start with the Premier Division, where we have kind of touched on it quite a fair bit over the season. It looks like Musselburgh's very likely to close it out in the next couple of weeks. They won 4-1 away at Hutchison Vale. They're 10 points ahead of Hallabees, who have obviously got a game in hand. Musselburgh, I imagine you've come up against them this season. If they do win the league, how deserving are they going to be of it?
I think credit to Liam and Wayne, really. I think they've changed their style massively. The recruitment was really good in the summer, and they brought in really good players from other clubs. We've played them twice, and we were talking about key moments before. Both games were really tight. We've actually lost the game in the dying minutes of both games, 3-2. And I think that they realised what Broxburn done last year, if I'm being honest. A lot of their goals come from set plays. And being really organised, and I think in terms of across the piece, they would be worthy winners of the East of Scotland League this year.
There are some good sides below them who have obviously put up a real fight. We'll get into obviously Whitburn season as well. Like Hallabees, I've been really impressed with. I think Robbie's done a sensational job since he took over there. Like Jeanfield have been going about their business well. Donny Pace obviously have come up and done well. Been really impressed with Haddington. I think they've been the side. Like I remember at the start of the season being like, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do well in this league, but they've been sensational. Like, out the kind of 4 above yous, like who would you say you kind of been most impressed with?
I think you're right. I think Robbie's done a great job. I think Hallabeef already had a really, really strong team, and Robbie's actually recruited 1 or 2 extra and made that an even stronger team. We played them last week. They've got ways to win. They've got good players. I would agree. Donny Pace have done really well coming up this year. Good core group that Danny's got. Dunbar were a great side. Hainsey, credit to them, and then obviously Kingy coming in. But if I'm being really honest, Haddington are probably the team that played the most football against us. I thought that Scott had them really well set up. They had a good style of play. They were well structured, quite young. If I'm being honest, they had a couple of young lads that you could see in a few years' time, and you can see what he's trying to do there. Going back to your point at the beginning, Scott, even when you look at the teams below us, there isn't much between the two teams, and I think that is why Musselburgh probably just pip it. I think they've got key players at key moments that can just make that wee bit of difference. Their Scottish Cup run stands and speaks for itself as well. So I think worthy winners of the league if they go on to do it. But credit to the league. It is an incredible league, and there's some really, really good teams in there. And there was always that East v West bias, and cause a bit of controversy if I like. But when the East teams have played the West teams this year, it's been closer, and the games have actually been a lot competitive. Whereas that's not been the case in the past. I think we have a really, really strong league in the East Prem, and it's only going to get stronger with the teams coming into it next year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. There's some really good sides that we'll touch on that are going to come up next season as well. Whitburn obviously drew 0-0 at the weekend with Luncarty. Like, what was your kind of thoughts of the match at the weekend? Obviously, a goalless draw. Like, looking at your kind of season so far, like, I don't think you have not scored in, mate. I think that is that maybe the only second game you haven't scored in, maybe third. Is that right?
Your stats will be better than mine. I
I
would
think
need to look
it is.
that
Yeah, I think like I'm just looking here just now. Yeah, because I think he's lost at 1-0 away to Gene Field, then 1-0 away to Hutchie a couple of weeks ago, and then 0-0 on Saturday. I think that's only the third game he's haven't scored in the league this season.
Yeah, I mean the 1-0 at Deanfield, we got a man down, losing the 88th minute, I think it was, or very late in the day. But no, the Luncarty game, credit to them. I watched their highlights against Haddington the week before, and it was actually a very similar game.
Okay.
The first half was played like a friendly. If I'm being honest, I didn't really think that Luncarty, like they were slowing everything down for the first minute. I think they had a game plan and they executed it really well. Maybe if we nick a goal, then great. Had a bit of a go at the boys at half time. I felt like we just kind of played it like it was an end of season game. Like the tempo was quite slow. We created a few chances, but second half I actually thought we were decent on the pitch. The pitch was hard, firm. After being a bog like 3 weeks ago, it was just for the change of weather. But so yeah, we hit the bar. Their keepers made a great save. We scored a goal that got disallowed, rightly or wrongly. I'm still not sure. It's so tight. But no, I think the way that they set up to play kind of stopped us from creating loads of chances. But we've got a 1v1 with the goalie and things. We just couldn't get the ball over the line, if I'm being honest. And credit to them, they came, I think, to either pick a draw or nick a goal and win it. But I mean, it is what it is. We've got a few boys out, cup tie next week, so we played with a slightly changed team, and similar to the Hutchie game, in all fairness, with the Locker game coming up. So, yeah, it is what it is. It's a point at home and we move on.
And like obviously 4 league games left. We'll get into the kind of them later on because there's it could be kind of pivotal with kind of teams as well. There's some good sides obviously as well. Like I said, like Dunbar have been really good. They won 2-1 away to Dundonald, who've also been consistent. Pennycook have done really well. Like St Andrews winning 2-0 at home at the weekend as well. Socky winning 3-2 at home at Glenroth is that kind of like from 10th down. Like yes, like Luncarty, Tynecastle, and Edinburgh Uni, they're going to need Edinburgh Uni in particular. I'd say I think they are actually down. Looking at it, I think they are actually down unless I can't see them getting to. I think they can only get to 27. So like it's going to be massive for them, like as well coming down and into the first division. But Luncarty and Tynecastle can still mathematically stay up, but like above, like the sides above them that are out that relegation zone, they've been able to get some good results, and it's very tough to see them going into 3-4 at this point to allow Luncarty and Tynecastle back into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult ask, I think, for Tynecastle and Luncarty, and yeah, you can see the results are starting to change at that end. I think that the other teams there are probably it can go either way, but
Yeah,
they're starting to tail off a little bit. The Luncarty team that we played at the weekend seemed to be a different team that we played up there. If I'm being honest, it was a bit of a change. So, sorry, but yeah, I think it'll be a difficult ask. I actually watched the Dunbar Dundonald highlights. That looked like a really entertaining game.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure the Haddington Hillabeef was, I think, 2-0 up, and then Haddington then 2-0. But
mm-hmm.
no, I would tend to agree. I think it's going to be a tough ask for those teams. I think credit to Stephen Craig and Hutchie going in there and really turning their fortunes
Yeah,
around. And similarly, Greg at St Andrews as well, because the St Andrews team that we played up at St Andrews in the first game of the season, he recruited quite a lot of loans from Dunfermline. I think he got a lot of. I think got some back from Dundee. I think, and again, just totally changed their fortunes. But I think the two of them will be, safe now. And forgive me if I'm forgetting anybody else, but no, I think it's looking that the league's settling itself out.
yep, absolutely. And looking into the kind of first division as well, Camelin are up. Congratulations to them. Obviously, another transitional kind of time as well. They decided to change their manager I think towards like maybe the kind of middle of March. That happened last season. It didn't work out for them last year, but it has worked out this year. They're obviously a side similar to kind of Whitburn. They're going through the path, trying to get up the leagues, coming for the juniors as well. Bonus are another side who are pretty much all but promoted. That's their, I think that'd be their third promotion in a row. Like those are two sides that are going to be a tremendous additions to the Premier Division next season. And I imagine, like for your point of view as well, they'll be good clubs to have to go against because I imagine like those three clubs will kind of compare themselves to each other in a way. I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, Cayman are slightly different because obviously they were in the Premier and
Yeah,
then got relegated, and then the club have been then rebuilt, rebranded, if you like, and they've done a really good job. And I think between them and Bonus Athletic, you would probably have thought that it would have been between them to win the
yeah,
league this
I'd
year. I
imagine
think
so. Yeah.
it still is. You know, I think Cayman need maybe 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
They've signed some incredible football players, if I'm being honest. They've competed really well. They've always competed with us. Like you said, it didn't work for them last year, changing the manager. And, you know, they've obviously changed this year for whatever reason they'll know. And it's working so far. So credit to them. Like you say, congratulations that they're promoted. I actually sent a message. I think it was last week, actually. So, yeah, credit to them. Bonus Athletic, another club that I'd like to come up with. You know, I've got a lot of time for Derek, the secretary there, and Alec Brown, the chairman as well. And, you know, I've got a lot of friends that go and watch the club. So, yeah, credit to them. If that is almost mathematically done, I think they'll still come up.
Yeah.
And Paul at Newton Grange done a great job as well. So, yeah, they're three great teams that will certainly make our league more entertaining next year for sure. If those are the ones that come up.
Giant Newton Grange in the driving seat for third. Like looking at the other teams, like Heriot Watt obviously dropped points at the weekend. Crossgates are still there. They probably would need snookers, I'd imagine. Kirkcaldy and Dysart and Edinburgh South can still mathematically get there. They would need again just to go on massive runs. Edinburgh South done it last season. Like, do you give Newton Grange the edge at the moment?
I wouldn't like to say because we play Crossgates this weekend,
That's right. Yeah.
so I wouldn't like to kill myself a wee bit and give them more motivation to come over to Whitburn. But we played Crossgates early in the season, and we played Newton Grange in a friendly, where a really mixed Whitburn 11. But I felt like Newton Grange just had a couple of players that really excite you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Crossgate selling the lad Hind to Bonus at this stage of the season was, you know, an interesting one when you're
Yeah.
top scorer. But I honestly don't know. But I don't know. I think that, like you say, you would need a couple of things to fall for Crossgates. Heriot Watt, so much time for Beach and what he does there. Really good friend. But the 2-1 against Arniston at the weekend, you know, a difficult one to come back from potentially. So yeah, I think between 5 teams, Scott. Let's just leave it at that in case next week you could ask me it might be a different answer.
At the bottom, it looks like Inverkeithing are probably going to go down again. I think they are actually like close to confirmed. It is interesting though for the other two kind of relegation places. Canoe and Lacor are there just now. Like massive results for Armstrong and Preston. We covered that in the Patreon on Monday. Like at the moment, like there's a lot of football still to be played, and I think a couple of sides play each other. But at the moment, like Armstrong and Preston have made a really good step towards survival.
Yeah, I texted you last week actually, trying to get friendlies set up for the end of the season and pre-season, sorry. And the game at Leith was a huge one for him. I think, you know, that 2-1 victory down at Leith probably gives him a little bit more of a chance to look at the dates for those friendlies, because it was a case of leave me alone until I figure this out. But you know, like they've got good players there, so I think, yeah, I'm not too sure about Canoe, but the 2-0 defeat to Thornton at home is a tough one, I'm sure, to
Yeah,
take.
Thornton have been very solid as well. Like Thornton and Blackburn, even Whitehill as well. Just to mentioning them, they've been extremely solid this season with the job they've done.
I think Jack's been really unfortunate. I actually met him last week at the Uni Cup final, and we were having a chat. And Whitehill have got a really strong group of players, but I think he's been, and I know that every team has injuries and things, but I think they have been depleted for the majority of the season. It's generally been when they've played their bigger games. But yeah, really strong. In terms of Swifts, I feel for Gary and Grant Hamilton as well, who's obviously left Whitburn to go there. But yeah, I think they're probably detached a little bit too much now, aren't they? And it looks like they'll potentially go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but again, another really competitive league. Let's just have a wee quick word for our sponsors, Appen Sports. This section of the podcast is sponsored by Appen Sports. Appen Sports are experts in creating bespoke, unique and high quality custom kits and training wear for your football team. The free online kit designer, ready with over 70 fully customisable templates, is here to help you create a brand new and distinctive look for your team. Your order also means that Appen Sports will reserve a place for your team in their club shop, making reordering your teamwear easy and giving your supporters somewhere to get their hands on your amazing gear. To check out everything Appen Sports has to offer, visit their website appensports.com now and get started on transforming your football club's look. Make your custom football kits easy with Appen Sports. Make it happen. We'll move into the second division. Armadale Thistle are up. Congratulations to Colin and his side as well. They've clinched promotion into the first division, and they're the sort of side that can kick on again because they're stacked with talent and they've got a really impressive manager.
Yeah, I mean, Coco's done great. We keep in touch, and I actually texted him yesterday. I let him settle down from his celebrations on Saturday, and they said congratulations to him and Gav, and even like say Leaper and Stuggs as well. Like, they've done a great job there at Armadale. We play them potentially every season now. That was a thing that we always done in a testimonial. It's like a cup final, you get a trophy and things, so it's great for the community. We would love them to get back to the Premier. I know there are fiercest rivals, but we're talking 650, 700 people at a game, and they've got the players, they've got the management to do it, they've got the facilities to do it. So yeah, good luck to them. I hope that they can kick on and actually go and finish the job. They're good people. So yeah.
The other, again, like, the leagues are so tight, and it's going to be very interesting, particularly promotion in this league. Like, Easthouse's Lily, I would have said, were strong favourites. They came up against, obviously, a really informed Harthill team, which we'll get to in a second. They still are second at the moment, but Bathgale, West Calder are hot in their heels, and you've got also the likes of Edinburgh College, Oakley and Kennaway, who could maybe cause a stir in the late stage of the season. You've got 6 sides going for 2 spots.
Yeah, you're talking about good sides as well. In a league that is below our own. So it's you look at Griff at Kennaway. The job that he's done has been incredible with the resources that are available to the club and the club as well. I would have said that Easthouses were probably the strongest, but that 2-0 at Harthill looks like a great win for Harthill at the weekend. Yeah, it's a great league, actually. I think Bathgate and West Calder probably fancy themselves, especially with the Bathgate 3-0 win at Oakley. Mm-hmm. That'll be a sickener for Davy and Peter up there at Oakley, but a good one for Gogs. And I mean, Bob at West Calder's done a good job. I think they've recruited some really good players to come and play in that league. And yeah, I mean, I've no looked too greatly into detail, but I think it probably would have been for me between Bathgate, Oakley, Edinburgh South. No, not Edinburgh South, sorry, Easthouses. So yeah, I think you're right. Probably five teams fighting out for those remaining 2 spots. I'd probably go with West Calder and Bathgate if I had to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, there's still a lot of games we played. There's some other solid sides as well. Stirling Uni have done really well. Burnt Island and Coldstream look safe. The battle at the bottom, though, is excellent. Like, Harthill have been on, I think, 4 wins in a row now. Like, just some of the, like, again, just want to kind of shout out just the teams they've beaten. Like, in the last 4 games, 1-0 at home to Dalkeith, 1-2-1 at home to Stirling Uni, 1-4-2 away to Kennaway, and 1-2-0 at home to Easthouses. Have also beaten Armadale this season. I think they actually gave Armadale their first defeat, and there's some excellent results there as well. Like, they've been excellent the past few weeks. They are more than they look the team actually that you'd be more likely to see us safe based on what they've done.
Yeah, I mean their resources are good. Willie and Alan have went in there and they've recruited well. I mean, seen like Bones, they score in there. Like they've got some talisman as well. They've got some experienced players with a sprinkling of youth, and they've done well in the loan market, and they're quite present. They're quite the communication's quite good in terms of trying to recruit. So yeah, I can understand why they're doing so well. I'll be honest, I've not seen them play. We played them in friendlies last year, but I've not seen them play this season. So can't comment too much. But I'd imagine that the two of them will demand standards out of the players, and like you say, they're beating good teams there. Because I've watched Kennedy a few times the last couple of months, and I think the Dalkeith game I watched, up there, and it was a hammering, for Jokeny's team. But I think Harthill are doing well. Credit to them, but. Yeah, I don't really know too much, to be honest, to give comment.
Vale leaving and Tweedmouth obviously won at the weekend away wins. Dalkeith are the team that I've been really surprised by. Like, I didn't think obviously they'd be challenging for promotion, but if you'd said to me in April they'd be bottom of the league, like they've had a really bad run. At the moment, like it is depending. Peebles are there as well. Like it is all depending on who they play. Like Dalkeith, I think play like their next 4 games. They've got West Calder, Bathgate, Armadale. Then they play Bathgate and West Calder again. That's 5 of their games are against teams going for promotion. Like it's no great for them at the moment.
Yeah, that really, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at the league tables now, that really surprises me that Dalkeith are sitting bottom.
I'm not astonished, but I'm like, I didn't expect them to be as low as they are. I thought they'd maybe struggle, but I didn't think they'd be where they are.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you'd expect them to be in that top 8. With the teams I'm just looking at it just now. It's an old team of mine. When I was at uni, I played there, so yeah, it disappoints me a little bit that that's where they are. They're not out of it, but like you say, that seems like quite a challenging fixture list. There's one thing for sure that they'll fight. They won't give in. So good luck to them. But that looks. I would agree now looking at it that it does look like Harthill are probably safe, and that Dalkeith have got a lot of work to do if they want to be safe. So
into the 3rd division, Lochgelly are up. They are, I think they're champions as well, actually. So again, congratulations to Scott. I think we did, obviously. I think they did clinch promotion last time we were on. Lydon look likely to join them as well. Another story of a team that are looking to climb the leagues. Another example of what the pyramid can do. Like again, Lydon Hotspur, great story for them. Like again, like a lot of people last season said, wait till the 2nd season and you'll see what they can do. Change manager, but they look pretty good to come up.
Yeah, we played them at the start of the season in a cup when Kingy was there, and I can't remember the score, but I think it was a bit of a doing, to be honest. But you could see they always tried to play. And I think he said to us after the game, look, I changed my squad up a wee bit because the league's important. So it sounds like you say, it sounds like a club with a clear plan. They've got I've never been, but I've seen photos and I've seen the videos of the games and stuff. It looks like they've got a really tidy wee ground and a good infrastructure there to progress. So credit to them for the position that they're currently sitting in. And yeah, you would suggest that we only played 23 games, that they're almost as good as home as well. So yeah, credit to them. It's great. In terms of Lochgelly, great. It surprises me that they're in that league, if I'm being honest. They were always a team when we played them that was a really challenging place to go. I think we won 4-3, but we're 3-2 down with about 5 to go. So it was never an easy game going over to Lochgelly. And yeah, you see a lot of their socials and things, and I think they've done really well. Like to be in the position that they're in 58 points at this probably earlier stage is incredible. And then, like you say, Scott, like even that league itself, the promotion race for that league, realistically, Falthouse are still in that, and they're
I would even say Storyburn and Edinburgh United are in it. I wouldn't say they're like out of it, but like it's again like they could go on runs, and like we've seen, like just looking at the results of the weekend, Stonyburn beat Edinburgh Community, Falthouse beat Newborough. Like we've seen in the past though, like results can happen in that league. I wouldn't be surprised if that went all the way and you do see a team maybe going on a run. Is that Holthouse bringing in Xander Murray as well? Like that's a massive signing for them. Huge.
Yeah, they've brought in one or two actually that have played in Lowland League. So
Mm-hmm.
they're bringing in quality players. The recruitment's been good. I think Stonyburn are the same. We played them in a couple of week and it was a really competitive game. Pumforston as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
Eggie's done well there. Like the leagues are thriving really.
Yeah, Livy and
You know,
Hoyk as well.
it
Like
is the-
Livy would be a massive story. Hoyk, I would still say are favourites for me just at the
Mhm.
moment. But I'd say again, there's a lot of football still being played, and I imagine a lot of them will be playing each other. So we'll get an idea what's going to happen soon. But that's another like all the leagues are there's intensity at all of the leagues. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like we've seen in the past where like the leagues are kind of set in stone, and now like a lot of these leagues are going to go to the final day, which is what we want.
Yeah. Again, to go back to the point at the beginning, like when we go down those leagues, it excites you. You're
Yeah.
talking about teams being able to go on a run, whereas really you're now looking at our league and going, can Hilly Beef catch Musselburgh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that automatic promotion is actually what kills it a little bit, because I'm looking at those games, and even when you were speaking there about going on a run, like when we were in Conference X, like I think we were I think we were 13 points behind Bonus at one point. When we actually took the job, I think we were 13 points behind with games in hand. So, ended up going on to win the league. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. Stonyburn are not out of it. Edinburgh United won't see themselves out of it. So, aye, I mean that's incredible. Like to look through the leagues and take a bit of stock as to where we're at. But no, it's exciting for those teams, and good luck to them all. And I hope that if I've because they always get this. I mean, Bathgate, the guy that was on at the start of the season, tipped us to go down. So I don't, I don't want to say too much in case I offend anyone. So, but no, that it's exciting that there's so much to be fought out. Yeah,
No, absolutely. I think there's a lot of football still to be played. The cups are obviously beginning to come into life. Whitburn have a second round tie against Crossgate. It's not easy. Crossgates are obviously a very, very good side. There's some good games as well at the weekend in the cup. How big would that be? Like obviously we'll get some cup success already this season, but again, like with the experiences I've had this season as well and getting into that senior Scottish, how big would it be to go on another cup run?
yeah, it's important. It's important for the momentum into next season. I think like you say, Crossgates is not an easy game. Genefield, effectively we've lost to them twice. Like I said, we got a man sent off. So, but for any club, I think it's important to go on a cup run. Financially, it helps. It's another couple of gates, hopefully, with home games. But for me, it's about the players. Like, you want the players to be fighting for something. And, that effectively, that is what we've got left. We've got a cup run that we hopefully look forward to. We can hopefully get through the game against Crossgates at the weekend. And then I believe we go to Genefield the
Genefield and Newton
following
Grange, I think.
Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think you're
Wednesday.
right. Yeah.
But no, I mean, you look at the cup, you look at who's left in the draw, you're always getting excited by that, and we're talking about a cup at the end of the season. I think we made it to the quarterfinals last year. We played Preston at home. So yeah, hopefully we can do it. I think for me as well, just in the management team, you're looking at the league and you're saying to the boys at halftime on Saturday, you're playing the game like a friendly almost. You're playing it like an end of season game, like having the cup on Saturday will be a good distraction for that to just try and get that competitive edge back. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
fingers
absolutely.
crossed.
Yeah, some entertaining games over the midweek as well. Dunbar play Musselburgh, St Andrews play Genefields in the Premier Division on Tuesday. Second Division, Dalkeith play West Calder as well. Wednesday, Hillabeath, Dunipace. So there's action, obviously. This is the time of the year, though. It's midweek, weekend. You know what I mean? There's games every couple of days, and there's plenty, like the daylight's coming, get out and get to a game, and there's a lot of football still to be played, and it's promising to be a good end to the season.
Yeah, I think there's some really exciting games there. The Dunipace Hillabeath game, that'll be an interesting one to see what comes of that. And then, like you say, going through those leagues there, the Dalkeith one, that's going to be massive for them as a club. So no, it's really exciting. Like I think Scottish football as a whole just now is incredible. Like you look at that top six. I'm a Hearts fan, so that was a bit of a nightmare the other week, but the other day, sorry, but St Mirren, Robinson saying it's the biggest achievement he's ever had as a manager. Like there's things to fight for. You look at Falkirk and Livy just now. There's a good buzz to that. Even the relegation there, a really good buzz in the lower leagues in Scotland. There's just so much going on, and I don't know about you, Scott, but I just feel like it has got its buzz back. We were it was a bit dry for a bit, wasn't it? But it's just kind of got a bit of a buzz back. You're getting a lot more local people going to local games, a lot more supporters following clubs. Like we live in Larbert, and like the fan base at Falkirk just now, and the buzz about the place is incredible. So I mean, there's just so much to look forward to with those midweek games. But you're right, there has to be a realism as well that because we took a bit of a hammer at the weekend from support. About the squad that we picked and the team that we played, and the clubs have to rest players. Players get injured. Players. It's been a long season, so there has to be a bit of a realism there that no every team is going to be playing their strongest team, and there are some clubs that are fighting for things that other clubs are not. So it'll be interesting to just see how everything plays out. And actually, like I said earlier, I can probably watch a little bit now with a bit of like enjoyment, whereas last year it was like eat, sleep, get up, football. Even walking the kid to school, you're thinking about the team you're playing on the Saturday and stuff. There's a wee bit of time back for me this time, so probably start to like I'm saying about setting up pre-season games. I didn't actually do that until we finished the game at Kirkcaldy and in Lochore last year. So it was just it was constant, but it's exciting. It's a really exciting time for Scottish football.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, mate. It's been a pleasure to have you on, Darren, again, and thank you very much for your company tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it anytime, Scott. Honestly, right. It's a credit what you do for the leagues, and I've said that before. And happy to be on, or happy to help get people on, or whatever you need, because it's important that we sing about all the good work that goes on. So thanks, you.
Mate. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to our sponsors, App and Sports, as well. And for more East of Scotland content, subscribe to our YouTube, Patreon and podcast channels. Thank you very much.